It was supposed to be a normal day, a morning drive to work, but one wrong turn, one slip of the wheel, and my life became unrecognizable. The car rolled 3 times before landing upside down, and when I woke up, everything was spinning. Pain, a lot of it. My body felt like it was being crushed under the weight of something invisible, my limbs numb and useless. The next few weeks were a blur of sterile white walls, the sharp scent of antiseptic, and the soft murmur of nurses talking in hushed tones. My left leg was broken in several places, my ribs shattered. The damage was severe, but they said I was lucky to be alive. Lucky. I had trouble believing that. Every inch of my body screamed in agony, and the worst part, it wasn't just the physical pain. Something inside me felt off, like there was a shadow lurking just under my skin, waiting for the right moment to emerge. The doctors had told me that I'd require extensive surgery, skin grafts, the works. I tried to focus on the idea of healing. I had no choice. I needed to get back to my life, to my job, to everything I'd once known. But as the days bled into one another, I began to notice something strange. It started as a small, almost imperceptible twitch. At night, when the hospital lights dimmed and I was left alone with my thoughts, I felt it. A subtle movement just beneath the surface of my skin. A slight wriggling sensation, like something was crawling inside me. It was so faint at first I thought I was imagining it. Perhaps it was the effects of the painkillers, or maybe it was just my nerves, healing in strange ways. But it didn't stop. It grew. The first time I saw it was in the mirror. I had been staring at myself for hours, watching as my new skin grafts began to form scabs. The face looking back at me was familiar, but it didn't feel like me. My reflection had changed. My skin, now an unsettling patchwork of smooth grafts and scar tissue, didn't belong to me. I didn't recognize myself anymore. And then I saw it. A twitch, a ripple, just below my collarbone. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The skin on my chest shifted, as if something was pressing against it from the inside. Slowly, too slowly, my hand reached up to touch the spot. It was warm, unnaturally so. But when I pressed harder, the sensation stopped. For a moment, I thought it was gone. Perhaps it had been nothing more than a random muscle spasm, or my body's way of adjusting to the grafts. I tried to dismiss it, but deep down, I knew it wasn't. It was something else, something that didn't belong. That night, I lay in bed, listening to the steady beeping of the heart monitor and the soft shuffle of footsteps in the hallway. The movement under my skin came again. Stronger this time, more insistent. It was as if whatever it was trying to push its way out. I grabbed the edge of the bed, my knuckles white as the pressure inside my chest built up. My heart raced, my body trembled, but no matter how hard I focused on the sensation, I couldn't understand it. It didn't make sense. Nothing about it made sense. I turned my head, eyes scanning the sterile room. There was nothing to see, nothing to hear, nothing except the unsettling feeling that something was waiting, watching. And then, a voice. It was faint, a whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at the same time. "You're not alone." I jumped, heart pounding in my ears, but when I looked around, I was still alone. The room was empty, the voice just a trick of my mind. My mind playing games with me, I thought. But the feeling was different. Something had changed, and I didn't know if I was ready to face what was coming next. I was supposed to be recovering, but somehow the more I healed, the more I felt like I was being consumed by something else. Something I couldn't explain, and it wasn't going to stop. The days following that night felt like a slow crawl through thick fog. I tried to bury the memory of the whisper, telling myself it was just a product of my exhaustion, a byproduct of too many painkillers and sleepless nights. But that didn't explain the sensation under my skin. It didn't explain the way it was becoming more pronounced, more deliberate, as though whatever was moving inside me was trying to communicate in some twisted, visceral way. I could feel it now, with every shift of my body, with every breath I took. The movement wasn't random anymore. It was rhythmic, like the beat of a heart. It felt like it was circulating through me, pulsing through my veins in a slow, unnatural rhythm. Every time I looked in the mirror, the patchwork of my skin seemed more alive. My reflection was no longer just a reflection. It felt like something was staring back at me, something other. The face I saw, my own, had become a mask, and beneath it, there was something else. Something I couldn't quite grasp, something waiting to come to the surface. I tried to focus on anything but that feeling. I threw myself into my recovery. I worked with the physical therapist, pushing through the pain, trying to feel some semblance of normalcy return. But each step I took, each muscle I flexed, only seemed to stir the thing that was growing inside me. It was only after my daily session with the therapist that I noticed it again. This time it wasn't subtle. It wasn't a twitch or a ripple beneath the surface. It was more like a clawing, scraping sensation, as if something was digging its way out from beneath my skin. My hands shot to my ribs, and I gritted my teeth against the growing pressure. "Is everything okay?" my physical therapist asked, her voice concerned. But I couldn't respond. I couldn't form words. All I could feel was the skin on my chest, stretching as though it was being pulled in different directions, as though someone was trying to break free. I had to get out of there. I couldn't breathe. I needed to get away from the sensation, away from the suffocating feeling that was consuming me. I stumbled out of the therapy room, ignoring her questions, my hands still pressed desperately to my chest. I found my way back to my hospital room, locked the door behind me, and fell onto the bed, gasping for air. I could feel it moving inside me like a heartbeat, but not mine. It was as though it had a rhythm of its own, something alien, something unnatural. It wasn't just inside me, it was taking over me. I sat up abruptly, staring at my reflection in the window, my eyes wide with panic. My heart pounded in my ears. This wasn't just some muscle spasm. It wasn't some freak accident of nerves healing in weird ways. It was something worse. It was as though whatever was inside me wasn't part of me at all. And the more I tried to convince myself otherwise, the more I felt like I was losing control. Like whatever was inside was fighting for dominance. That night, the movement intensified. It was no longer subtle. It was aggressive, urgent. My skin felt like it was about to burst, and my body trembled uncontrollably. I tried to scream, but the words wouldn't come. It was as though the sound had been trapped somewhere deep inside, somewhere unreachable. The thing in my chest, my ribs, shifted, pressing against the inside of my skin, making it impossible to ignore. The pressure built, and I thought I might pass out from the intensity of it. Suddenly, everything was still, and then it was gone. The movement, the pressure, the sound, the sensation. I lay there, my chest heaving with shallow breaths. I don't know how long it lasted, but in that moment of silence, it felt like something had been waiting for me to let my guard down, to believe it was over. But I knew deep down it wasn't. It was only just beginning. And then I heard it again. That whisper, soft at first, like a breeze against my ear. You can't hide from it. The voice was clearer now, more distinct, more present. It wasn't in my head. It was real. The thing inside me wasn't just a random occurrence, a side effect of my accident. It was something alive, and it wasn't leaving. I sat up, my eyes scanning the empty room in a panic. But there was nothing. Nothing but the oppressive silence, the suffocating tension in the air, and the distant hum of the machines that surrounded me. No one could hear me. No one could help me. I was alone. Completely and utterly alone. But I wasn't alone in my own body. and I had no idea how much longer I could hold on before whatever was inside me took control. The days blurred together like smeared ink on a page, nothing clear and everything distorted. I couldn't trust my own body anymore. Each twitch, each shift of muscle felt like a warning, a signal that the thing inside me was growing stronger. I couldn't explain it, but I could feel it. Always there, lurking beneath the surface, watching, waiting. The hospital room that had once felt like a safe haven now felt more like a prison. The walls, sterile and lifeless, seemed to close in on me as I tried to focus on the simplest tasks: eating, drinking, breathing. I had lost the ability to just live without thinking about what was happening to me. I was consumed by it, the thing inside me. At night, when the lights dimmed and the sounds of the hospital faded away, the sensations became unbearable. I could feel it moving, twisting inside me, like it was trying to carve its way out. My heart would race, my hands would shake, but no matter how hard I tried to stay still, I couldn't escape it. It wasn't just inside me anymore. It was around me. I woke one night with a jolt, a cold sweat beading on my skin. I had been dreaming, or maybe it was a nightmare, but it felt too real to be a dream. I couldn't remember what had happened in the dream, but I could feel the lingering terror, the sharp prickle of fear at the back of my neck. The room was dark, the only light coming from the faint glow of the heart monitor beside my bed. That's when I saw it. A figure. At first, I thought I was seeing things, the after effects of another restless night, my mind playing tricks on me. But as I blinked, the figure remained, standing at the foot of my bed. It was tall, almost unnaturally so, its features blurry and indistinct. A shadow, a man-shaped silhouette, but its edges were jagged, like the figure was made of darkness itself. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. My heart pounded in my chest as the figure seemed to lean closer, its presence suffocating, pressing against the very air in the room. I could feel its coldness, feel the weight of it. The room around me seemed to distort, as if the walls were bending inward. I could hear faint whispers, low and unintelligible, but they were clear enough to send a shiver down my spine. The figure didn't speak. It didn't need to. Its mere presence was enough to fill me with terror. I couldn't tear my eyes away. I couldn't look away. There was something about it, something wrong, something inhuman. The longer I stared at it, the more it felt like it was growing, like it was feeding off my fear. The figure stretched, its form warping in and out of focus, its limbs contorting in ways that defied reality. It felt like I was staring into the heart of some impossible nightmare, some impossible thing that had no place in the waking world. And then, just as I thought I might lose my mind, the figure took a step toward me. One slow, deliberate step. It wasn't human. I closed my eyes, praying it would go away, praying that this nightmare would end. When I opened them again, the figure was gone. The room was empty. But the terror remained, lingering in the air like a thick fog. I didn't know what had just happened. I didn't know what I had seen. Was it real? Was it just a trick of my mind, a hallucination brought on by the stress, the fear, the thing inside me? I didn't want to believe it was real, but deep down I knew it wasn't over. The thing inside me wasn't just an illness or a trauma. It was something alive. Something that had been there before me, and it wasn't done with me yet. The next few days passed in a haze, my mind preoccupied by the memory of the figure, the sensation of being watched, of being hunted. It seemed like every time I closed my eyes, I saw the shadowy figure again, lurking just beyond my vision, waiting. But that wasn't the worst part. The worst part was that I wasn't sure what was real anymore. I couldn't separate the terror in my head from the terror that seemed to be manifesting in the world around me. And then, one evening, it happened again. I was lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to block out the incessant whispers in my head when I felt it. The sensation, the pressure, the movement. This time it was stronger, faster, more urgent. I bolted upright, gasping for air, my hands instinctively pressing against my chest. The thing inside me was alive. It was trying to break free. I felt it crawling through my veins, writhing under my skin. I tried to scream, but the sound was trapped in my throat. The pressure built, suffocating me, and just as I thought I would pass out, I saw it. The figure again, this time standing right in front of me. But this time it was different. It was grinning, its face twisted in a grotesque, inhuman smile, eyes gleaming with an unholy hunger. I couldn't move. I couldn't scream. I was trapped. I was trapped in my own skin, in my own mind, and whatever was inside me was not alone. I couldn't move. The grin stretched across the shadowy figure's face, impossibly wide, revealing teeth that didn't look human, too long, too jagged, too hungry. My heart pounded so hard it felt like it might burst through my ribs, but the thing inside me, it pulsed with a different rhythm, a slow, deliberate beat. It wasn't following my heart anymore. It had its own. The figure took a step closer, and a sharp pull shot through my chest, like invisible strings were being tugged from inside me. I gasped, clutching at my skin, feeling something beneath it shift, rearrange. The thing inside me moved in response to the figure. It knew it was there. The whispers returned, clearer this time, not just unintelligible murmurs, but words. Almost ready, almost free. I shook my head violently. No. This wasn't happening. I wasn't insane. This wasn't real. It couldn't be real. But the sensation in my chest burned with the truth. The reality I had been avoiding. It was real. A searing pain erupted in my ribs, and I screamed as something tore itself upward, shifting, stretching under my skin. My stomach twisted violently, and my vision blurred. My body wasn't my own anymore. I could feel it, feel something else flexing inside me, controlling the muscles, the bones, testing them. The figure stepped even closer until I could see it in detail. No longer a blur, no longer just a shadow. It was me, the same face, the same eyes, but wrong, distorted, twisted. It looked like me if my reflection had been stretched, peeled back, and reassembled by hands that didn't understand human anatomy. It opened its mouth, and I heard my own voice whisper, "Let me out." Something inside me answered. My entire body convulsed as a sharp, impossible pressure built beneath my sternum. My skin bulged outward, something underneath pressing against it like it was ready to burst free. The world tilted. The hospital bed beneath me felt like it was shifting, breaking apart. And then, my skin split. Not a deep wound, not a normal injury. No, it parted, peeled away as if unzipping itself. A perfect line running down my chest. No blood, no pain. Just a cold, horrifying realization. It had never been my skin. It was a shell, a cage. The figure, the other me, smiled wider, eyes gleaming with triumph as it stepped even closer. "It took time," it whispered, "but you're finally ready." I wasn't. I tried to move, to run, to fight, but my body was no longer mine. It belonged to it. The thing in my skin. The thing that had been waiting. The last thing I saw before the darkness swallowed me whole was my own body standing up, without me inside it. And then, nothing. Well, the story ends here. If love that story, make sure to subscribe our community and like the video. Next time we come with new video, so if you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon.